he's got a real good G2 on that right side. Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Southern Extreme TV on that cherry lemon sundrop flow this morning. Guys, it is muzzleloading season here in my home state of North Carolina. It is low 40s and it is hands down the best morning that we have had all year right now this morning. Deer are going to be moving. The good thing is my good friend Willie hunted this property yesterday, all day yesterday morning and yesterday afternoon. Yesterday morning, Willie seen a very good 8-point buck come in right behind the stand. Couldn't get a shot at him. And then yesterday afternoon, seen a big 7-point buck, big mature 7, and took a shot, just did not connect, unfortunately. So Willie is hunting a different property. I'm going to go in and hunt that exact same stand this morning. Me and Dad was going to go over there and kind of tag team these deer, but we had another big deer show up on camera at another property, which is a deer we've been chasing for the past 2 years. So Dad is going to go try to put the smack down on him. Hopefully Dad will shoot that deer, but I feel very, very confident that we're going to see some deer this morning. And the way that 7-pointer and that 8-point was acting yesterday, there sounds like there's a hot doe in that area, which is a good thing. That means that hot doe hopefully is going to stay in this thick stuff, which is right there near where our stand is at. And hopefully she keeps and brings all the bucks in the area into that space. So that's kind of the game plan right now. We're going to head over to the property. It's not a bad walk in, but I do want to get there early enough to where I can get in, get set up, good and quiet, and just take my time doing everything and not feel like I'm in a rush. So let's get in the COYOTE Tundra. Let's go have some fun. Hopefully we shoot a big deer, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Well, guys, we are here and set up. Just an absolutely beautiful morning. Like I said back at the house, this is probably, I'm going to say it's the best morning of the year, but I haven't seen any deer yet as of right now while I was at work yesterday. Yesterday sounded like it was going to be the best day of the year. And as of now, it still holds that title, but man, I'm hoping this morning is going to be magical. It's got that good, crisp feel that we've not had in months. I think we've only had maybe 5 mornings all together that's been in the 40s. So the fact that we're in the middle of November and it's finally in the low 40s, and yesterday the high was like 79. The low was like 64. So those deer are gonna rut no matter the weather, but their activity in the daylight will vary greatly depending on the weather changes and the weather conditions. The only issue I'm fighting right now is I've got kind of a swirling wind, but that's because that sun is not quite starting to peek over the trees, but it's starting to get up high enough to where you can see really good. So that'll start drawing that wind kind of towards the sun. But then hopefully once that sun gets up a little bit higher, that wind should settle down and kind of get steady in a specific direction. Hopefully that wind will be coming out of the north. Because I think these deer this morning are going to be walking in front of me. Coming from my left, going to the right would be my guess. And see, like right now the wind's hitting me on my right side, blowing to the left, which is not what I need. This is such a large field with so much thick stuff in it. I mean, these deer they're gonna come out in it. I mean, they feel comfortable. I mean, this is their living room. You know, we've got some good lanes cut out. You know, 4 or 5 bush hog paths wide down each of these strips. I mean, it just acts like a deer highway, man. These deer just love coming out in here. Give y'all a time check just so I can keep you in the loop. It is 6:40 in the morning. And it is officially filming light enough to where I could get a shot at a deer and get it on film, which is a good thing. Yesterday morning, Willie seen that big buck at like 9 a.m. So that tells me that these bucks are kind of waiting and cruising later in the morning, trying to figure out where those does are going to bed down at. And all they're doing is they're just crossing all the trails, looking to try to pick up a hot doe. A really good feeling about it this morning. We'll see what happens. I had a lot better feeling about it early. I mean, yesterday it was cloudy, so I think that would have them deer moving a little bit later in the morning. But with this sun up this high, I feel like these deer are gonna move earlier than they did yesterday. Which earlier could be 8 o'clock, which is what it is right now. It's kind of what I'm hoping for. I really don't want to have to wait all the way to 9, 10, 11 o'clock this afternoon for deer to start moving. My plan is to give it to 10 o'clock if nothing's happened by then. And it's going to be kind of tough to pull it out. But it's 8 o'clock, no deer. That's the summary of this morning. The sun is brutal. Hopefully something will move here in a minute. Well guys, we are back here for redemption. I'm at the spot where I shot and missed a really good buck the other afternoon. Wound up shooting and missing this deer. Thought it was shooter era. Went and shot my muzzleloader the next day. My gun was shooting about 9 inches high, 80 yards, which is about the distance that deer was. Replaying the footage, I mean, I went clear over this deer's back. Not clear, I brushed him enough to knock out some hair. 9 inches is about the right gap. So, I mean, it's one of them things, man. Whether the scope gets bumped, crap happens. It's a good deer. It just didn't come together. It just wasn't meant to be. But we're back in here this afternoon. We still got the old CVA smoke pole, which I got a lot of faith in this gun, man. If he steps out again after getting this gun re-sighted in, I feel pretty confident that I can put a waylay on him. The good thing about it, guys, the deer that I actually shot at was not one of the 2 deer that I was chasing. He might have been a little bit bigger than the deer I was chasing. He definitely was older. I don't know if he was quite bigger, but he was definitely older. So that deer I shot and nicked is definitely #1 target buck. Just so I can, I guess, have some confidence back, get some redemption. But there's 2 other deer in here. There's a good 9-pointer that is probably, I'm gonna say, the #1 deer. He's the biggest deer. And then we've got another 8. He's actually a 9, but he's a mainframe 8. But he's got a little kicker off one of his G2s. either one of those deer, they come in, they're going to get shot. So there's 3 deer that I know of that are shooters on this property. It's that time of year where you got random bucks shuffling around, showing up randomly all over the place. So I'm hoping maybe we can slide in here. It's a little warm this afternoon. It was good and cold this morning. It was in the 40s, low 40s. It's about mid to low 60 right now, but I think the temperature's gonna drop pretty quick, which I'm not upset about. I'm over here at this property early. I've got to tote a bag of corn down here, check a trail camera, and then I'm gonna shimmy on up the tree. Fingers crossed, man. It comes together for me this afternoon. We'll see what happens. Missing that deer last weekend was a major setback. I mean, he was a extremely good deer for this area of the county. But the thing about it is I cannot change the past. I can only look at the future. That's all I can do. So hopefully, I'm getting ready to check a couple trail cameras. Or not a couple, I'm getting ready to check the trail camera that I had set up here. Hopefully one of these deer are showing back up on camera. You know, that's my kind of hope and dream. So I just heard a buck growing straight in front of me. I just heard one grunt, 100%. All right, guys, good morning. It's the next morning. I'm going in to hunt the same spot that I hunted yesterday afternoon. Same place where I shot and missed that big deer, and same place I've got 2 other deer besides that deer I shot and missed that are shooter bucks. One of the deer showed up this past Tuesday at 8 a.m. with a couple does. Last night I seen the one doe by herself. Didn't see any other deer. So I left all my camera gear up in the stand so that I can just basically come in and just get up in the stand nice and quiet. That's the one issue about this place, is that it's really difficult to get in and out of quietly. It's just the way that it is. But it's kind of cloudy and overcast, which is perfect. One of the biggest deer I've ever killed in North Carolina come off of this property on a cloudy, overcast day where it was kind of cold, not really cold, but these bucks are cruising, these bucks are feeling it. And right now you just got to be in the woods. So let's try to ease down here, get set up. Hopefully we drop the hammer on a big one, guys. Keep my eyes peeled, and hopefully we see an old buck sneaking back and forth across this ridge looking for a doe, or potentially with a doe. I'd rather him be without a doe, but as long as he shows up, I don't care. right, guys. Here for the afternoon set. Obviously, I'm dressed a little different, but that's because we're hunting in a ground blind this afternoon. As you can tell, the wind is just blowing like absolutely crazy right now. So rather than trying to get up in a tree and just have this wind blowing all over the place, I put this ground blind up on this spot to have a place to go hunt that's an easy in and out, mainly for rain. But obviously the wind, ground blind plays a big factor in as well. So that's what I'm going to go do this afternoon. Basically just hunt this big field, big bedding area, off on both sides. And then also this is a very good place for deer to come out and do the rut activity at night. Pre-rut action is going on. The start of the rut is trying to kick off, but we're just not getting the weather. It's been super hot here the past couple of days. It's supposed to be cold in the morning. It's supposed to be 37 degrees in the morning, but it's Monday morning, so can't really do nothing about that because I'll be at work because I work a normal adult job, unfortunately. But we're going to take advantage of the time we got. Dry weather. These deer like to hunker down here in North Carolina when the wind blows like this, but the weatherman's saying we've got 20 to 25 mile an hour winds right now. But then right at about 5:30, which is the last probably 45 minutes of daylight, it drops down to less than half that, closer to 6 to 7 miles an hour. So that's a real big deal. That's a big decrease, which I think is going to help these deer get up on their feet and start moving. So I got to kind of switch up my gear, switch over to some tripods, get some stuff like that ready. Just got a little bit of prep work before we go set up, but it should be a good afternoon. Hopefully we see some deer, guys. Alrighty, got to get my stuff set up, but this kind of gives you an idea of what I'm looking at in the blind. This corner down here with this bale of hay that is where these deer are probably going to come out of. I don't know if you can see, right there in that tree, I've got a 2-man stand. And one of the last times I hunted here, I had a couple does and a buck come out chasing this doe all over the place. And I've got a trail camera right on the edge, right there next to that hay bale that faces out here towards us. And we got a picture of a pretty decent buck, but he's coming into the camera angle facing the camera. So he's either coming from the right, walking straight at the camera, or he's coming in behind the stand and walking down and then coming to the camera. Either way would not be good with the wind and me being in that 2-man stand. So you can see the grass obviously is just going crazy right now. We're just not used to hunting like this in North Carolina. So I'm gonna get everything set up, and we still probably got a little while before we see any deer, but fingers crossed, guys, we'll get lucky tonight. I've got a couple different tripod systems for my gun that I'm wanting to kind of test out in this tripod, or in this ground blind. One of which is a setup sent out to me by Precision Rifle Solutions. That's what I'm going to be trying tonight. It's paired up with the Slick SLIK tripod. Precision Rifle makes adapters and heads that go onto the SLIK tripods. And they make these cool little accessories like this right here, these little teeth that dig into the ground. This is a really lightweight setup right here. I mean, I'm talking maybe 3 pounds, 2 pounds, something like that. I mean, it's extremely lightweight, but it extends up high enough where you could actually stand up and shoot off this thing. The only negative that I got is, even though it's a quick detach plate, it does not have the ability to adjust so that it will hold your gun steady at all times. So basically, it's going to be a pure prop is all it's going to be. It's not going to hold the gun where you can take your hands off the gun and just let it be free. That's not what this right here is. But I'm excited to try it out. If this doesn't feel that stable, I do have a Bog Pod death grip in the truck, the carbon fiber model. They sent that out to us as well. We've done some shooting off it. It's really stable. The only issue is the footprint of it is really, really big, and I just don't have a lot of space in this ground blind to have a tripod camera gear, or for my camera, a big tripod for my gun, and to be able to maneuver around if need be to be able to get a shot on a deer. So trying to balance that whole situation out, but we'll see what happens. I'm excited to try it out, and I mean, this is something different, and I actually enjoy hunting from a ground blind. I just don't do it enough. So maybe this will change my mind and get me into the ground blind game a little bit more. That's a little funky, jacked up deer. It's got a good brow tine. It's got 2 good brow tines. Unbelievable. That son of a gun's got 2 good brow tines and a good G2, and everything else on him is broke off. His field edge. He keeps looking at something back up that hill, man. It's almost like they might be like another buck coming. If it was a doe, I feel like that deer would be staying there, you know. He's licking his nose, trying to smell. I've got a couple does that just came out. I'm assuming these are the deer that the landowner's dog spooked off. That's good. We still got a little bit of time. Not a lot of time. About 20 minutes if we're lucky. But the good news is those deer there are going to let us know if another deer comes, if another buck or another deer starts to come out into that field or get close to them. They're going to let me know, which is what I really need. So that way I can try to be ready and be on the lookout. The only issue, the way that those deer approached that corn as they came in. Uh-oh. Freaked them out right there. I don't know what that was about. But if those bucks are bedded down in that timber, then they can't smell them does right there. Those bucks will just have to get up off their bed and come scent check. But now if those bucks are bedded back behind me and down in front in that bedding area, now that might be a different story. Those bucks may have smelled those deer walking, and then they might get up and cross that trail and follow them out into here. They don't look like really, really big does, but I mean, they're definitely not yearling does. Those are maybe 2.5-year-old does. Definitely old enough for those bucks to be chasing them and pushing them around, so I'm just going to keep an eye on them for the next couple minutes, and hopefully they'll let me know here in a little bit whenever a deer comes out, where it starts getting close. I knew there had to be a buck. Both them does just took off running, trying to get away from that little bill buck. My guess is that buck was down in there grunting. Those does did the right thing, just not the right buck. Not quite what we're looking for here. Maybe in another 2 years, he will be the one. We shall see. Alrighty guys, you see the old hunting mobile right there, feeling like the hunting public, rolling up in the old 4-door Rolla, son. Don't knock her, man. She's a beast. Going down here to hunt the same place we hunted yesterday afternoon. The only bad thing about hunting from a ground blind is that it gets really dark really fast. And I ain't gonna say really fast, but that like last 10 or 15 minutes of shooting light that I get out of a deer stand, I don't really have it here in the ground blind. Now I am probably 130, 140 yards off of where these deer are really and truly probably going to be coming out at. But still, that sometimes can be a pretty big deal. Try to take a look, nothing down there. So what's cool is I got these little islands right here. That corner down here, that's where all those deer are coming out at. I got the ground blind right here, but last night, I see all this is thick bedding. All this is just a thick, nasty cut over with pines mixed in. And it goes all the way back. There's nobody that hunts this. Nobody can hunt that. There's no way that they can hunt it, which is awesome. And that's where those deer are living. But I need them to come out of that stuff and come into this field versus coming out of that stuff and going into the fields on the other side. And all that is going to be controlling the does, making sure that the good matured does are wanting to come to this field and hang out in this field and graze in this field. If I can control that and make that happen, hopefully a big buck's going to show up. So let's get set up in this ground blind and let's get quiet. Hopefully we see some deer moving a little earlier tonight. I love hunting out of the ground blind is freaking awesome. You just get to sprawl out. You ain't got to worry about falling asleep and falling out of the stand or anything crazy like that. And what's awesome, man, is the wind. You can't tell it inside this ground blind, but the wind is blowing straight into this corner, which is where these deer are going to be coming from. Even the deer that are coming out of that thick stuff that I showed you guys, they're walking the edge of this field all the way down and then coming out. The good thing is if the wind is blowing, well, it's because the wind's blowing that direction, where I think those deer are going to be coming into this field, approaching this field better because they're walking into the wind, whereas like last night, the wind was actually coming from that corner, blowing this way, so basically blowing the opposite direction. And those deer were actually walking, they were actually walking upwind or into the wind, but then doing like a U-turn to have to come back into this corner, which I don't want them doing that. I want them to come into this field thinking that they're safe, thinking that there's nothing in this field. And the reason for that is more than likely that's how a big buck is going to approach this field. If the wind is wrong, it can happen if a doe comes in and that big buck's with that doe, but if that buck's just cruising and he's wanting to come check this field to see if there's a hot doe, he's going to take that wind advantage. He's going to come by, pop out in this corner of this field, and what he can do is he can come out in this field 10 yards and he can scent check this entire field for does. And if there's a hot doe, he just follows that scent trail on out. If there's nothing here, he drops off back down into this thick bedding area and he starts just walking directly into the wind, let the wind hit him in his face, and he scent checks this entire bedding area all the way out until he gets to those other fields. And at some point, he's going to find those does, in theory, and whatever field that them does are in, that's where he's going to do his rutting activity at for the night. So my hope is with the wind direction down that way, that those big deer are going to be hopefully working this way out of that bed and wanting to check all of it on their way to go do their rut activity at night. This is the first field, the first stop, if you want to call it that, on their way to check those other fields. So I got a good feeling about it. Knock on wood, we've seen deer every time we've hunted here. Not quite any shooters, but we've seen deer. That's really about all you can ask for. So let's hope that everything stays true, and hopefully, man, a shooter buck comes out tonight. Guys, this doe walked like right by the daggum stand. She wasn't really nervous, but she was kind of in a hurry to get away from wherever she was at. The issue is I can't really see back up behind me. She's kind of acting like it was maybe another deer behind her. It's kind of that nervous tick that she had. She wasn't really looking behind her. She didn't turn and look up the hill past me though. The good thing is that she couldn't see me at all. I'm gonna try to maybe get my gun back in the blind. It was set up for the deer to come out of that corner down there. I just want to be able to move. If that deer, if that buck comes right there where that doe comes, I mean, he's going to be right on me. The only issue, man, is I can't see back up there behind where that doe come from. Now I just looked up and that doe was right there. Well guys, that is it for today's video. The bucks are definitely on the move. They're starting to feel it, pushing some does around, and they're showing up in daylight hours. We're not too far away from opening day of rifle season. They're talking like the temperature is supposed to be dropping over the next couple of days, so I'm hoping that's really going to kick those bigger, more mature deer and get them up on their feet and get them out on our properties. I know there's some good deer out there on the properties that we've got. They just haven't showed up yet. So fingers crossed we get lucky when gun season comes in, when rifle season comes in, and maybe we can put the hammer on a big deer, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button in the top left corner. Try to post videos every single week revolving around hunting, fishing, guns, outdoors, you name it. I try to do it for you guys. So be sure to stay tuned. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Got a lot of good stuff coming up in the future. I'll see you guys next time.